It's time to do a review of my Rex Ruger Airhawk Elite 2. Spoiler alert, this is my fastest 177. We need to take a second look at my other brake barrel. After I did my video on the Crosman F4, I thought I really need to take a look quantitatively at my Ruger Airhawk Elite. So I decided it's time to do a video on this one too. I've actually had this monster for quite a while, probably 5 years maybe. You can still find these at Walmart. This one here is $128. It's the third air gun I actually bought. The first one was a 762. This Daisy 880, which was recently featured in a video where I changed the stock. It had the old diamond stock here. This thing, it was fast from the start. I first featured it in early December 2022 when I had it battled up against that very same Daisy 880 in David versus Goliath. And in that one, didn't perform well. It had to do with the pellets. You have to go back to look at that video. Pellets were falling out. I was using the Crosman Goldflight, which is a penetrating round, and it did not work in this. After that video, this sat in the corner over a year before I even fired it again. I thought it was just a dud. This thing's so old, the elastic got brittle. The covers are still there, but the elastic broke. The only thing I have left is the owner's manual, and it basically just gives you warnings. But if I recall from the first video, this weighs about 8 pounds. It's a heavy one. To fit this in up here, I have to back as far away as I can, and it's still not fitting, I guess. There you go. It came with a scope. You could also use the adjustable rear sight on the fiber optics. It looked good. It didn't give the how much force. I'm guessing just from that 25 pounds maybe, 20 to 25 pounds. Here's your breech. Mine's kind of loose, but that may be from just old age. In this one you have an automatic safety, so in order to fire you have to press that forward. There's the safety right there, and it's ready to go. Of course, you know it's empty because you saw the chamber. Even though it's got the suppressor on it, it's still very loud. And watch the recoil. It's a nitro piston, and like most of the modern brake barrels. What we're going to do in this video, we're going to do 3 pellets that I could test head to head against the F4, and I could also test 1 pellet against the Daisy 880, the Excite Hammer. Heavy shadows, late afternoon, January 1st. I'm trying to beat what we call a blue northern, get some of these shots in outside. So the shadows are quickly changing, and you don't get much of a window to shoot outside. So trying to finish up here. This is as far as I can get. .834. Today I was able to get 2 that I could directly compare to the Crosman F4, shooting the hollow point and the Barracuda match. Tomorrow, I think I have 1 more day left of decent weather with sun. So with the Excite Hammer, you can see the shadows are already out. We have the 3rd sample. I've got all the chronographs done, so we're going to run some numbers, and then I'm going to put it in the book. Well, we've got the numbers crunching done, so let's take a look at it. This is the fastest of my 177s. I used the 3 pellets. I can directly compare it to the Crosman F4. The H&N Excite Hammer, I can directly compare it with several of my fast 177 pumpers. The average speed of the Crosman hollow point was 920 feet per second. It had a kinetic energy of 14.8 foot-pounds and a standard deviation of 26. The H&N Barracuda match, which is 10.65 grains, had an average speed of 829 feet per second, kinetic energy of very good 16.25 foot-pounds, and a standard deviation a respectable 7.5 feet per second. Then we have the H&N Excite Hammer, 970 feet per second. It had a kinetic energy of 16.4 foot-pounds, but that standard deviation was not good at 23.1. So let's do some direct comparisons here with some of the other air rifles to show you how fast this is. Comparison with this other 177 break barrel, the Crosman F4. We can compare 3 pellets, Crosman hollow point. The Crosman hollow point in the F4 was 891 feet per second, but it had a better standard deviation. Now you got the Barracuda match, and here you've got 829 feet per second. With the F4 you've got 787, but both of them have a very good standard deviation of, this one's got 5.9 and that one's 7.5. So my thoughts on this is both of these air rifles are powerful enough that you probably should use a little heavier pellet. So in a subsequent video I will test the accuracy of both the F4 and the Ruger Airhawk Elite, tested with mostly the H&N Barracuda match. A direct comparison of the Crosman F4 on the Excite Hammer. It too was very fast, 902 feet per second versus the 970, and its standard deviation was 14.8 versus a 23.1. So the F4 had better standard deviations. The Ruger had better speed. I'd say these should be an interesting competition because they're close enough in speed. So let's take a look at my fastest 177s. And there's only really one pellet we can compare. My Winchester 1977 is probably my fastest pumper. It had 800 feet per second with the Excite Hammer, 170 feet per second faster. And then we got the fastest Daisy 880 I have is actually my 1990 Daisy 880, and the Excite Hammer there went 661 feet per second, but its standard deviation was a much better 7.6. On my present Daisy 880, the speed was a slower 634, but standard deviation was 2.7. This is the same gun that we had the David versus Goliath. Fastest Crosman pumper using the Excite Hammer was an average speed of 738, and it had a standard deviation though of 4.6, so that wasn't bad either. So the pumpers had better standard deviations. Well, that's about it for this video. This has outstanding speed and power. Now the question is, how accurate is it going to be? I think it may not be that bad with the heavier pellet, but that's a subsequent video, and it's going to have to wait for the weather to change. It's not on the way back burner, but it is probably going to be a little bit before I do that video. I hope you found this information interesting. I would appreciate it if you could press the like button and subscribe so I can make more videos for you.